And now, from beyond our dimension, this is the JeffMara podcast. Here's Jeff.
My guest is Steve Barone, who has been filming UFOs for over 10 years and has even been on the Travel Channel, the Discovery Channel, and more. Steve, thanks for joining me today and welcome.
Hey, I'm glad to be here. I'm so thankful to my friend Sven from the Netherlands for letting me know about you. He has been trying really hard to get me more publicity, and this is his first really successful try, and I jumped on it in a heartbeat.
Well, Sven, if you're watching, thank you very much for connecting us. Steve, can we start with how you got into all this stuff?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, Jeff, this is something I never would have expected. I remember by the time I was 57 years old, I had pretty much thought that my days are, it's just not going to happen that I'm ever going to see a UFO. And I say 57 because at the age of 57, my wife and I moved here to Las Vegas. We were living in southern Utah for 8 years, but we're really from the San Francisco Bay Area. Um, when we moved in, this was July of 2011, we moved here. And this home, I found it myself online. And I wanted this home because it was a single story that we were looking for. And it also had sweeping views of the entire Las Vegas area and the surrounding mountains. And to me, that was just put it over the top. So this is the house we wanted. But so that was July that we bought the house. And in October, my wife and I decided to go on a cruise up the East Coast out of New York City, up into Canada, and we went to all of the Kennebunkport and all those other places, Boston. But our final port, and it just was a 1 week cruise, was Halifax, Nova Scotia. So we had a really nice day there, and around 4 or 5 in the evening, we boarded the ship where we were going to be heading back to New York City on a 2-night sea, just at sea. And back then, I used to smoke. To be honest, I don't urge anybody to smoke. I'm glad everybody's quitting because I smoked for 48 years, but I quit in 2017. But at this time, I did smoke, and we had just eaten dinner, and I told my wife I'm going to go out on our balcony and have a cigarette. And so I did, and it was cold for being October. This was October 13th, 2011. So I put a bathrobe on over my suit, went out and sat there. And as I was sitting there, Jeff, all I'm staring at is darkness. And really all I could see was the sea right next to the ship. Well, all of a sudden, with no sound or anything, what I can now define as what looked like a bat tic tac with no lights it was moving to the north. We were heading south. Within 10 seconds, it was gone. It went past me, maybe 150 to 200 feet out and at eye level. And then it took like a dip, like down, like I thought it was going to go into the water, but it didn't. It stopped right above it, went around the back end of the ship, and I never saw it again.
How big do you think it was?
It was, I would say, like maybe like a school bus type of thing. And the thing that just blew me away about it so much is, first of all, it was confirmation of a lifelong belief that UFOs are real. But, you know, I was stunned by the fact that it didn't make any sound, even though you always hear that. So anyway, I didn't even open the door and tell my wife because I thought it might return, and it didn't. I stayed out about another 20 minutes. And so when I went in, I told her about it, and she's the exact opposite of me. She's seen UFOs, but I drag her out and make her look at them sometimes. She doesn't care about them. And she says, don't say anything because people are going to think you're insane. And so I kind of let that go. But man, I was so excited. It was just unbelievable. And so fast forward about 2.5 years, and now we're in Vegas here, still in the new home. Went out on my patio to have a cigarette, and wouldn't you know, out of the corner of my eye, I see these beautiful red, crimson red color in the sky. And I look up, and it's a UFO. This time it's about maybe a quarter mile away, up, straight up, and it flew right over my house. And this time I didn't take my eyes off it. My adrenaline just spiked right that moment, and I'm grabbing for my phone camera, and I was able to get video of it for about 5 minutes, but it was horrible video. But at the same time, it was still proof. That's the moment that I decided, wow, this is the second time in my life now that I've had extremely close-up videos of or views of a UFO. And my background is that I served in the Navy during Vietnam. I joined the Navy in 1972, and I got my honorable discharge in 1978. But man, that gave me a lot of experience doing things like standing watch and doing all that sort of thing. So my plan became that I am going to do everything in my power and be outside every night possible now to start a hobby of filming UFOs if I can. And hopefully, somewhere along the line, the mother of all UFOs will come along. And slowly but surely, I mean, I began with my smartphone. Then I got a video camera, a Canon. And then about a year into it, something amazing happened. There was a gentleman in North Carolina by the name of Tony Ivy, and he's following me because I have now some digital videos of UFOs, orbs, things like that. And he offered me a night vision device. And like I never ask people for anything unless it's just to watch the video, tell your friends. But he wanted to give me one of his devices. He said he had 6 night vision cameras. 2 of them were identical, and he wanted to give me one of them. I kept saying no, but man, he just would not take no for an answer. So he did. And boy, I'm so glad that I did, Jeff, because there was a part of the sky here when I'm in my backyard that I never would be able to film any UFOs because it's just pitch black. There's nothing going on there. That you would see military aircraft and stuff from Nellis Air Force Base and Creech in the air, but nothing like UFOs. This first day I got that night vision device, I thought, oh, let me see what I think's going to happen if anything's happening in that area. Well, when we began looking at video, this is the first thing I saw. Oh my gosh, I just couldn't believe what I was looking at. And these things are in groups of 4 and 5. Um, and it's funny because I was just watching last night an episode on Skinwalker Ranch where they did a test where they're doing this signal from the radio station that's causing all this weird things to happen. And they were saying if anything weird happens, we'll know about it. Well, the same night, somebody shot videos in this town of exactly what I'm going to be showing you guys. So it's taken a long time. I have some ideas about what things are, but this goes back to 2015, and a lot of people think they could be drones. Well, they're not drones. These things are solid white, semi-transparent at times, and they're I can't even tell what they're doing. To me, it looks like they're almost alive because they seem to be having fun. And they're usually in groups of 4, and then there'll be a little dimmer one that's, I always call it the supervisor, just along for the, whatever's going on. And the funny thing is you just could never see them, right? And I didn't know they existed. Like I lived in this house for 3 years before I even saw a UFO, Uh, in that area, because I had seen the one I told you about. And so anyway, little by little, I just started. I started with that, and then I saved up, and I got a newer generation monocular, night vision monocular, and that was a nice upgrade. And then eventually, the owner of Luna Optics found out what I was doing, and he sent me one of the newer generations night vision binocular, which is basically two cameras shooting in HD. As a matter of fact, the newest one that I'm going to be getting is going to be shooting in 4K, and it's night vision. But anyway, I was outside every night that I could stand, heat and cold. And it gets hot here at night and cold at night here. But as long as I wasn't sick on vacation or something like that, I would be outside. And that's where all of this footage came from in the beginning. Now, there was a point about three years into it when I really became kind of burned out. Wasn't eating right, wasn't sleeping right, because of all of this.
What was burning you out?
Putting in the time in my backyard. I could be out there anywhere from an hour to 5 or 6 hours, and this is all at night, sky watching. And I when I do something, Jeff, I don't do it halfway. I go all in, all in.
Would you say that this became an obsession for you?
Yes, yes. I even said that I was obsessed with trying to film these things. So anyway, it slowed down for a while, but I was still, going out once in a while, and my health returned. I quit smoking in 2017. That's why I'm 70, and I'm actually fairly healthy now. Um, but over the time, what I've been doing for the last 2 or 3 years now is I take my gear out and I set it up, and I know which areas to aim the cameras, and I turn it on and I go back in the house. And then I come back out around 11 or 12 at night, grab it, take it in, download all the footage, and then start going through it the next morning. And it's amazing. It's continuous. And I'm just seeing things that are just unbelievable. And, my feeling was, you know, when I started doing this, I thought I'm just going to keep trying until I get the mother of all UFOs. Well, I've probably pretty much accomplished that a number of times. But I don't want to stop. I still want to keep going because this is so much better than watching television or playing around on my computer.
Now, when you say the mother of all UFOs, are you saying that you think you've captured a mothership?
Oh, yes, we're going to be looking at one here today. And I don't get many of those, but you might agree. Matter of fact, there might even be two in the same video. So yeah, I just keep going. And the only thing is I told my wife, I promise you, I'm never going to let this, ruin our home life. In other words, I'm never going to put the fact that I have this hobby of filming UFOs to go and get ahead of our life together. And so I've not done that, and that's why I'm only on YouTube. You get on Facebook and stuff and start showing them that videos there. Yeah, you still get a lot of good results, but then you get knuckleheads. Um, but the other thing is Facebook doesn't like it when you're trying to share your UFO videos on UFO channels or pages. And I just got tired of having them punish me, saying I'm breaking the rules. And so, I just thought I'm happy. I mean, I'm a private person. I'm happy whether my face ever gets seen or not. But I really do want to have the videos seen because this collection I have over 300 videos. And this is because I was consistent. And even when I wasn't feeling well, I was still putting the cameras out there.
Well, let's give them a taste today of what you've got. And then if they want to
Sure.
find out more, they can go check out your videos on your YouTube channel.
Yeah, I would love that. I would love that. Would you like me to pull up this screens?
Yeah, let's do it.
Right here, what we're looking at, you can see the date. in the timestamp on the lower right-hand side. This is when this all began. And this is a Luna Optics night vision monocular. And usually, most people use it for hunting animals and maybe other reasons, but I became one of the people that uses it for UFOs because it's picking up light in the sky that you can't see with your eyes. Even a digital camera doesn't see it in most cases. But anyway, this is within the first week or 2 weeks of getting this device. And I'm just going to go ahead and start it, and I'll explain to what's going on here. In almost every case where you're looking at this, Jeff, I am in Las Vegas near the entrance to Red Rock Canyon. I'm 1,800 feet higher than the valley part. And, if you're in downtown Las Vegas, we're that much higher because we're in the foothills of the Springs Mountains and at the entrance into Red Rock Canyon. And the views are just unbelievable from here. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and start this. And I'll go ahead and explain what's going on. Now, I sped it up because this is the only way you can really see what these things are doing. When this thing is running at normal speed, these look like they could be stars, because you don't really notice the movement in them. They're very slow how they move around. They can be very fast as well. But this is the first things that I started seeing in this part of the sky that there was never anything. And what's interesting is this is not over like the Nellis test range. It's not over Area 51. It's over the mountains, which is all Bureau of Land Management. And it's like, what are they doing here? And why have I not seen any of these before? Well, even now, which is 10 years later, almost 10 years, the only other person I know that has videos of these is, do you know who Jaime Maussan is?
Yeah,
The Mexican UFO guru?
right. I know of him. I don't know him personally.
Yeah. Well, anyway, he came to my home from Mexico City with his crew, his camera crew, and spent 2 nights out skywatching with me. And thankfully, I was able to show him that these things are invisible with digital, and even when you're looking through your binoculars, you can't see them. And so what he did, and he's with Tercer Millennium TV. He has better cameras than I did. He had a night vision and a nice digital on the same tripods, shooting same video. And I pointed out to him when this began happening, and he put the video on his website. He's the only other person that has this. And I'm shocked because I've been urging people for a long time to, if they can afford it, to get into night vision and where to look. And I know a lot of people here have seen things, and I hear from them all the time, but not this. And I've never seen anybody else with these videos. And maybe it's because there's a YouTuber called Mr. BBB333. I don't know. I think that's his name. When he sees my videos, he says, "You have the best seat on the planet to film UFOs." And I think he's actually right. There's a perfect storm of circumstances that happen with this. Not only can I see the city, but the corridor that these things travel in, I'm not looking up, I'm looking straight away, just like I was on the cruise ship at that plump tic tac that I saw, the first one I ever saw. But Jeff, all I can say is Vegas seemed to have a lot to do with all of this because it was right after we moved here that this all began for me. And what's funny is, I wish I should have included the picture. My first sighting was in Canada, off the coast of Halifax. Well, in 2016, my wife and I went on vacation to Calgary, and then we rented a car and we drove up into the Canadian Rockies, went to Banff and all the way to Jasper. spend a whole week, but on one day when it was just beautiful, we were walking along the Bow River, taking photos. And that night, when I got into the where we were staying, I was looking through them, and in one of the photos, there was a classic sombrero UFO with a companion over one of the mountains right nearby. So I've been to Canada 5 times, and in 2 times, these things have shown up. Now, what you're looking at is I'm just following these things. They go behind this mountain right near my home, 5 of them. I didn't know there was 5, but they never came back up. Boy, I need to slow down here a bit. I'm going too fast. Let me stop right there because there's a story with that. Those 5, the mountains there were right in the foothills. It's only about 3.5 miles from my house. And what I did, Jeff, is I using Google Earth, I took a line from my house and drew it through that mountain exactly where these things went down, and just wanted to see where they might have came down. Well, they came down, it looked like, and the reason I know this, it's called the Clark County charcoal kilns, and it's from the old Western days when they were making charcoal. And anyway, I know you've probably heard of Charles James Hall, who was the guy that made the tall whites famous. I started listening to his stories and watching his millennial series and the whole 9 yards, and his experiences with the tall whites back in the mid 60s. And he was the meteorologist for Nellis Air Force Base. But anyway, in one of his stories, he's talking about the Clark County charcoal kilns, and that's where these scout ships for the tall whites would go and land because they felt safe there. Nobody could get up there very easily because they're actually up in the Spring Mountains. And they would stop there and let the little tall white alien kids out to play. And that just blew me away. I mean, and these stories sound pretty far out for a while, but over the 10 years, Jeff, that I've been doing this, all of this type of behavior is happening in the Las Vegas mountain range, the Sheep Range, and the Spring Mountains, and even closer to home on a rare occasion. But all of these are the areas that he said the tall whites were at and in. And the thing is that when I look at this and I think I'm filming the same thing happening over a 10-year period that evolves a little bit, that it only makes sense that this might be them and that he was telling the truth. Because the other place they seem to be going is to Nellis Air Force Base. And now I don't have video of this because it was so hard to film, but I could see it, is that if you go way to the backside of that base, there's this giant oval that there's some weird thing going on there. But I've seen it happen 2 or 3 times where these white orbs, they never go past the roof of the person below me, means that they're going somewhere on that base. And what I would see is that I would see these things floating in to the backside of the base slowly. And then all of a sudden, right when they get near the ground, something seems to grab them out of the air and speed them off. And I was just stunned because once they get on the ground, they were going faster than they were in the air. And it doesn't matter how many of them, 30 of them could come in at the same time. And within a couple minutes, this thing would be able to grab them out of the air and move them off. So I'm thinking they're taking them to underground locations. But I kept doing as much research as I could on all of this. This is such an amazing area for something like this. Nellis Air Force Base is one of the most important Nellis Air Force bases in all of Air Force bases. They are storing over 900 nuclear bombs right there at Nellis. My front door is only 77 miles as the bird flies or crow from the runway at Area 51. And that's not to mention the old nuclear test site, where as many as, I think it's 1,500 detonations happened. And that's about 70 miles away, maybe not even that. But there's a lot of good reasons for them to be here. Not to mention that Nevada is practically empty. You know, you can drive 10 miles out of town and feel like you're on Mars. So anyway, that is what I think one of the possibilities is. It could also be, you know, contractors. Bigelow Enterprises, they're right here in Las Vegas, and they were involved. They owned the Skinwalker Ranch for about 20 years. There's just so many weird things going on. So anyway, I wanted to skip now into this next video. This next video is far different. This would be one where just it's just unbelievable. Okay, I'm going to start it up. I'm just going to go past here real quick. Now this is looking at the entrance to Red Rock Canyon, and you see two things flying out. Okay, they look like manta rays with a little bubble on the back. And what they are is the little triangles. And they're flying out of Red Rock Canyon. Almost look like they were even flapping wings. Now it's in slow motion. You can watch it in slow motion now. This was just sky fishing. I set my camera up. This is when I began doing that and aimed it at the Blue Diamond mine. And if you look it up, you'll see references as to underground saucer base being at Blue Diamond. You can look that up on Google. I don't know if it's true or not, but boy, I'll tell you what, when you see something like this coming, it lends a lot of credibility to it.
It looks like it's reflecting on the ground. Or do you see what I'm talking about?
Yeah, you have a good eye. I hear that from other people, but what you'll see is when they approach the left side of the screen, the one on top, for lack of a better way of describing it, will go into somewhat of a barrel roll. I'll go ahead and start it again here. Watch. The bottom one, this was a full moon night too, by the way. And that's kind of a lava rock mountain, the dark part underneath. The one on bottom is staying on course as it was the whole time. The top one's already in a counterclockwise loop roll that it's in. And then they just go off the screen. And of course, I didn't see these until I went in the house and started going through my footage.
So that suggests then that it's two ships.
Yeah, it was definitely probably two ships. So, and here's another one that I thought you might find interesting, is that once again, I'm going to pause it real quick. I'm filming these white orbs. They're moving east above the Las Vegas mountains in the Northern Valley. And as I'm watching them, one of them goes off the screen. And if you watch to the left of the one on the left, you're going to see a little bit of what looks like red mist and a tiny little pinprick of light starting to emerge. And this was the first time I ever caught one manifesting and just coming into being a full-fledged orb out of nothing. There was not a cloud in the sky this night. So watch this. Now, and the one on the right has kind of got a reddish hue around it. That one goes off the screen. But when I saw this, I zoomed in. I saw something weird's going on there. You can barely see this little foggy red color and little pinprick of light. And once you see it, it's going to all of a sudden, it's going to form into a full-fledged white orb, just like the others. And it's not coming through a cloud or anything. I just flabbergasted when I saw this happen. So it's still in the process, but now it's almost 100% just like the one that's still on the right. Now I'm following it, and I just stay on it because I don't know what it's going to do. And the other one went off the screen. So what I'm going to do there is I'm going to just real quickly move the screen to the right, the camera to the right to make sure it's still there, which it is. But the original one that was the first one is gone. It just disappeared. And so now I'm staying on here. So what happens here, Jeff, is I move it again, I look again, it's gone. Now I'm watching it. Now the one on the right that was still fully white is eventually going to fade out, and so is the one that faded in. And you'll see them both do it. This is why I enjoy this so much. I can't believe it's me that has this kind of good luck to be able to see this. See, now that one on the right is starting to dim out, fade out. And a lot of times you do see, and you'll see it in other footage here, there's usually something inside. It's not that that thing is out of focus, because look at the other one. It's just fine, but it's going to end up the same way. It's just going to fade out. So, what the heck is that?
Do you think these ships are moving into another dimension and they're just going out of phase?
I mean, my number one belief, Jeff, is that whatever they are, I think they live here out in the Mojave Desert, north of these mountains, in between there and Area 51, because that's where Charles Hall said they lived. And another thing is that that area is not accessible by anybody. The BLM areas are accessible, but man, you have to be have a four-wheel drive. You have to be willing to climb over some of the most rugged, jagged areas. And there's no way anyone can do that. So I think that what they're doing is they're coming over these mountains. And if you just go to my channel and look at some of the newer videos I have that I'm not including here, you'll see them coming over the mountain. And now they're doing things like, have you ever seen videos of UFOs that when they're moving, they look like very unstable? That is a real thing, and it happens all the time with these UFOs that come over the mountain and into the valley. Now here we are now fast forwarding to something very different. Now you can see my neighbor's roof, and you see these three UFOs together. And what these are is, when I look to the east and towards Nellis Air Force Base, I see these things coming, and you can see the formation they're in right now. This is night vision. We're going to see a digital copy of this too. I have both cameras outside filming this. They're just slowly gliding in, coming in. The one in the center has a more bright appearance than the two on the outside, but I initially thought it was an airplane, because that was about at least 21, maybe as far as 25 miles away. And so I'm watching these, but I got both cameras on them. And, I probably ought to just take my, speed it up a little bit here, because this went on for 17 minutes. So I'm just going to fast forward a little bit. You can see where that middle one's got a more of a bluish kind of glow, and the other two seem white. So yeah, this was amazing. And by the way, this was also one video that I turned in to the Mutual UFO Network for investigation. This one, and the digital version, both of them were investigated, and both of them could not be solved. They're called unknowns or other. I mean, this is just gorgeous. And this night vision is such an amazing thing, because it's picking up light that a lot of people might not even be able to see. So anyway, it's going to go behind this. That's a chimney hood on the top of my neighbor's house. You can see that we're up quite a bit higher than them, and then and way higher than some of the other ones in our area. But that's why I have such a great view. And I'm standing on a cement pad where I can see out. Now it's past that hood, and now it's right over the base. It's just right over the base, Nellis Air Force Base. And when these things get out a little ways, let me just go fast forward a little bit. I want to make sure we get through all of this.
Besides seeing the UFOs, it looks like we are also seeing air traffic as well.
Yes, yes, you'll see that in all of my videos. That along with these, there will a lot of times be other air traffic, and so I'm not unsure whether or not people are even able to see them. What you're looking at now is I'm looking to the northeast, and that there's a kind of a angled line there. That is Interstate 15 coming to Vegas from Salt Lake City. Now here's my digital Canon. These are different. These are not the ones that I see that I can't see. I saw those, the first ones, visually, and that's how I noticed them. So that's why, I got both cameras on them, and I'm just watching them come. Now, this one was a little bit different. It's the same footage, but there's a point there where I try to adjust the camera and it becomes, harder to see. It's blurry, and I had a real hard time getting them back into focus. But once again, both of these were sent to MUFON, and both of them came back as unknowns. And this is in 2016, so this is quite a while ago. But look at that. You're looking at basically three different colors. A lot of people see this part and they say, "Oh, that's a TR3B." And I says, "Well, just watch the whole video and you'll probably have a different opinion, because at the end they break up and all go separate directions." But yeah, it's amazing. I mean, 17 minutes with both cameras.
What would you say to somebody who would be saying that these look like drones?
I would say that, you know, if you go back to 2016, their drones weren't even close to being where they are now. The other thing is, Nellis Air Force Base is 21 miles in a straight line away from me. Here's where I now lost the focus, and I just had such a hard time of getting it back. But I kept it on it because it's showing the motions and everything, and it will improve a little bit. I mean, my whole thing is trying to not have blurry, shaky videos. That's why I have tripods for everything. But, there's probably something to be said about them being blurry, that the UFOs maybe have a way of causing some of that. I don't know. But this is the same thing. They just haven't gone below the roof yet. And once they did, I had the other camera on it. I had to put it up on the top of three upside down planter pots to get it enough height to see what was going on at the end of the night vision portion. This one ended when they went below the roof line. So that was that. But this was another really exciting event that I filmed, and I was just elated that it was lasted so long and that I was able to capture it with two cameras.
Do you think that these are some sort of plasma ship or something? Because as you can see, the lights, increase and decrease in brightness. They're almost kind of flickering.
Yeah. You know, um, one thing I always say about now is that they could be just about anything, especially ones like these. I think that most of my videos are night vision, and I think that they are somehow involved with Nellis Air Force Base. But there's a good portion of my videos that are in other areas that showed completely different things that I think those a very good chance of being extraterrestrial. So now here's one. Oh, I love this one. Okay, this is one of my favorites. I'm filming this white orb. It's coming from the Las Vegas mountains. This time it's coming much closer to my area, and it's not going to go right over my house, but right near my house. And eventually it ends up going behind a tree, and that's where I lose it. But as this thing's going, all of a sudden, I put this at normal speed now. This flies through the picture. And then I just slow that down. And that's my elongated tic tac. This thing flew right through the picture. I was looking through the eyepiece when it happened, because I'm operating the camera and it doesn't have a screen. And there's the side-by-side twin orbs too. It's a little bit oblong. I thought maybe that wasn't just one orb, it was probably two. We'll get another couple of looks at this in a minute. But for a long time, I didn't pay much attention to anything that happened after that, because it seemed like just a white orb, you know. There's that tree that it goes behind. So anyway, I think it's less than 7 minutes later, here comes another white orb, and it's just moving really, really slow. So, you know, obviously don't want to just have it spend minutes having that just slowly move. So I'm going to speed that up a little bit. So now it's approaching my neighbor's right next to me, my neighbor's roof line. And you can see it's just barely pulsing, which could be you know, the air, the August heat, something like that. But you'll see something amazing happen. And this has happened to me about 4 or 5 times over the years, where one of these comes up and just stops. And then all of a sudden it starts glowing very brightly with almost a bluish aura around it. And it's almost to that point right now. There's also other little thing flashing near it, but it just stayed there. It just stayed there. And, you know, I don't know if they know I'm filming them or not. You know, I think they probably do know, because I'm putting out videos of these things. And at Nellis Airport, I know they know that what I'm doing. Look how beautiful that is. And it's just floating there, just sitting right there. And then eventually it dims back down and moves right back, going back the other direction again. And, you know, I'm not one of those people that think that they are here because of me. I just think that what happened to me going all the way back to Halifax, Nova Scotia, was almost the equivalent of winning a huge Powerball. And that somehow I happened to be in the right place at the right time in Canada and in Vegas, where this door opened. It's like some kind of door opened for me, making this all it's just making this not impossible, possible. And that's why I decided to make a hobby out of it. And I'll tell you what, Jeff, I mean, it just far exceeded anything that I ever thought was possible.
Let's see one of those motherships.
Yeah, we'll be coming up on it. Let me get past here a little bit, because you don't need to watch this thing go back, because it just slowly goes back. Oh, yeah. Let me just get that last part where you see that again. This thing was amazing. And this is how it actually looked as it was going by. This is what I saw go through the screen. I couldn't wait to get my footage inside and see what that was. So, and that's showing that quickly. We'll go past that now. Okay, now here is in front of my home. My front door faces Red Rock Canyon and the Spring Mountains. And this thing will go away. Come on, doggy. Okay. So anyway, I'm filming this thing. I think it went past what I wanted it to do. Darn it. Okay. I'm just going to let that go, because it's hard to kind of get it. Now I see this thing, and we're looking at, these are the La Madre Mountains, which are part of the Spring Mountains. This was now only about 3 miles away. It's not really over the houses. If you go beyond the houses, there's about 2.5 miles of just wide open desert to get you up to these mountains. But here you go again. You got one of them just sitting there glowing, and then all of a sudden it goes ahead and dims down and takes off again. Yeah, this was another one that was really special for me, just because it's just so amazing. Now it's going to get where you can even see it through that chimney opening. Oh, okay, never mind. Now, this is the same things, but now I have a new night vision monocular. This is next generation, and they look a lot different than they did in the ones we just finished. And this just shows, once again, all in the northern part of the valley, over the mountains, these things doing what they do. But now, it's now 2020. It's 5 years later after all this started, and you're still seeing a lot of the same kind of behavior. They stopped doing that, Jeff, doing these formations where they would create a pattern, lock in, and then go into a tumble or roll. You do see them like this once in a great while now, but they just don't do that anymore. And I think I have a lot to do with that. And I'm still shocked that people aren't doing what I'm doing. But of course, they may not have the perfect place to film them from. Earlier, I told you in one of these things it wasn't blurry, but you could see kind of inside of it. And this is one of those, I think. Yep, there you go. There's something inside of that. And I've seen that a whole bunch of times over the years. Okay, I'm going to pause right here. I got to tell you this story. Okay, this is probably my favorite video of all. And of course, it's always you get somebody say that's a balloon. But what happened is I don't get very many daytime UFOs, but in this case, I did. And just so you know, it's like right now, I used the camera last night. I've already downloaded it, haven't looked at them yet, but I put a brand new battery in, get it ready, have it right by my back door. And so I go through the door, I got my camera right there. Anyway, I was taking my dog out. It's probably about 6 in the evening, but it was still light out because it's summer. And it's also, we get the monsoon season here in Las Vegas. And on this day was the most beautiful, gigantic monsoon cloud right over the city. And I look up as I'm coming out and I see this little object in front of it. And it's more of a burgundy color. And as you see it right now, it has little spots on it. I'm going to try to stop this in the right place. But you see this moving wildly around. And I've seen that on so many videos, not just my own. So it's swaying one way and another way. But watch this thing. Is as it's moving, I got it where it's just showing every frame by frame, quickly. It's just moving, okay? And now look around this thing. Even though it's in front of a white cloud, you'll see times when it looks like it's this aura around this object is so solid white, it even shows up in front of a white cloud. And then the white dot in the middle that you see right there, that will turn into an amber sphere that looks like it's glowing like a light. And I'll try to stop it when that happens. It does it more than once, but it's shape shifting. This thing is a shapeshifter, and how this ended was a mind blower. I'm so glad that I have a chance to let you see this. Now you're starting to see an 8 point, like two squares, which is one on top of the other and rotate a little bit. This whole event only lasted 1 minute and 13 seconds. I thought it lasted a lot longer. I'll explain that in a minute. Now we're getting in closer. And those almost look like eyes or something, the white things, but they're not eyes. Watch this thing. You'll see that white part turn into a amber light. Yeah, I'm starting to get now better and better images of this thing. That's what I like about the latest night vision device, is that this is in HD, even though this thing was up there quite a ways. You see that white ring around it? There it is. Did you see that? That amber sphere keeps showing, and as you watch, you'll keep seeing it. This thing is constantly changing, though. There was no wind or anything. It was very serene. And I've seen this aura around other UFOs that aren't the ones we've been talking about mostly. So anyway, I thought I was filming this thing. What I did is when I first started filming it, Jeff, I was on my patio, which is a covered patio, and as it was approaching, I knew I had to move the camera or I was going to lose it. So I picked it up and I moved out into the open and tried to get the camera back on it. And I did, but I thought I filmed it for about 20 minutes. And when I got the footage inside after I had lost it, I had 1 minute and 13 seconds worth of footage. And I'm like, what? What? Oh man, I was like freaked out. It was like, did I lose that? Did you see that light
Yeah.
go on?
Mm-hmm.
I was freaked out because I thought I lost it, but I didn't, because when it was at its closest is when I filmed it. So the best footage is what I already got. But what happened is it actually shut my camera down. There's that light again. It shut my camera down. And of course, this is when it was at the ultimate different shape than what you're looking at right now. You'll see that at the very end. And it's just swaying from side to side. And actually, I see a lot of that with these same ones that come over the mountain that I see with night vision. Now, this is the same thing. It busted out into the blue sky. Now it looks metallic. Now man, it, I got to go back up. I got to back up just a little bit. Okay, I'm going to try to stop this and show you what this thing ended up looking like. And this is all within seconds. You see that image right there?
Mm-hmm.
That is an 8-point star. And it's like you took a square and took another square and laid the other square over the other one, making the 8-point star. But that amber sphere makes it look like it's on fire. That's like just like not even a 1/100th of a second. And so what it ended up doing, and this is, I'll show you when it shut down my camera. This is still it. It was off screen. This is when I had moved the camera. Now it's back to this thing again. And now it's changing. And about right in here is where it stopped my camera. I'm going to pause. Okay. Go back a bit. Just show you this. It's very touchy. Okay. Gosh darn it. You remember in World War II, they had the big mines out, for ships. They looked like a mace. Look at this thing there. That's a good shot of it with the light almost going away. You can see now it looks like a mace, like the old they used to use as a weapon in the old days, or those mines in
Mm-hmm.
World War II.
Right.
But anyway, it got to the very end, and where this ends is where it is the first time I've ever had an interaction with one of these. And I know for sure it turned off my camera because my battery was dead right here. You watching it? That's it. That's how it ended.
Now, do you think it shut off your camera just because it was putting out a general signal, or it was specifically aiming at
No,
your camera?
it had to be something like that because I've never had that happen except one other time. It was a red sphere coming, and it actually did turn my camera off on that one. But in this one, I thought my camera kept running. I was out there 20 minutes doing what we just looked at, and I thought there was way more. But the next night, when I brought the camera out, when I turned it on, the battery was dead. That's when I noticed the battery was dead. I never have dead batteries. Right now, I have 3 power packs that are always charging above and beyond having batteries. And that way that I never get caught in a bad situation where I could tell you when I'm watching this thing and I know what I was looking at, would never ever turn my camera off. I would never turn it off under a situation like that. Now, here's another daytime one. This is way more recently. I walk out, and this is the back of my home, and this is where the video begins because I looked above my roof and I saw something, a white dot. And so this is what the white dot turns out to be. And it's this all happening over way high in the sky over Red Rock Canyon. You'll even see the moon in here. Okay, that's the first thing I saw. And it almost looked like a crossword puzzle at first, in a way. But this thing is starting to materialize. And wait till you see it when it drops into a cloud. And once again, no way this is a drone. There's just no way. And this would be, I would say, probably 5 or 10 miles away. I try to, I always try to include the entire video, Jeff. You know, people that hoax videos and make CGI videos, they're fantastic. However, they're usually not very long because it's CGI. Now you can see it. There it is. Now it's going to start dropping into the cloud. Those are solar panels on my roof, but I do see it, and I'm hoping that I'm aiming my phone camera at the right place. Oh no, wait. Yeah, it was my phone camera in this thing. It's a Galaxy S21 Ultra. So now here it goes into the cloud. I'm not really seeing it at that point. I'm holding my camera up. Well, look at this thing. This is not a drone or anything like that. It's above the cloud. You know, just trying real hard to, you know, pull the best possible images of this thing out. I'm thinking it's definitely a triangle of some sort, like a white one, but on the corners are more sphere-like. And so that you could see it better, I also made the same images inverted so you could see it. And it's a little bit blurry, but that's how it was when I zoomed in. Yeah, I think that filming a UFO in the daytime is way harder than doing one at night. You can see it's of course image by image. Of course it's dropping a little bit faster, but even on those corners, you see almost a little bit of a glow of some sort. Now they look like 3 balls. Okay, so I'm just going to just drag it and speed it up just a little bit. It goes down in. Now look, it's looking different now that it's more inside that cloud. Is it like a dark body with something lighter colored on the top? And so that's that. But just because I know people are always skeptical, I did it this way too. And you can see it looks triangular. I'm going to try to drag this and just show you a little bit faster. So it's just coming in down into the cloud. There it goes. And then there's a point where I just lose it in the cloud. Okay, you're gonna love this one. Okay. Um, Here what we have is, I'm looking, okay. This is one of those nights, and this is modern time. This is about not even a year ago, where I have my camera set up out there and I'm inside the house. I'm not even watching. So check this thing out. This is another one that I sent to the Mutual UFO Network. Never heard a word back from them. That is the largest thing I've ever seen in the sky. And it's so graceful. This thing is just slowly floating. When I saw it coming down, Jeff, I almost thought it was crashing. Okay. Oh, I love this one too now. That was that. Now these white orbs are moving along. Some of them are flashing. Now watch this. I colored the background instead of gray. I made it blue so you can see this better. You see the three dim ones underneath?
Yes.
Watch what they do. These things were in formation moving towards the right, and they're moving along, and all of a sudden they break formation and all come together in a little group of three, and then they start shining brightly. Once again, as if they're acknowledging your presence. And then they float right back into that same line with ease. It's just amazing. This is slowed down because it all happens so fast, you know. Oh, wait a minute. No, this isn't slowed down. This is normal speed. But these are those same ones. So there goes the first one that peeled off. It's floating back. It's going to go back into that same line. Then the first one that was all the way at the right. And this third one, next thing you know, they're right back in line again. And when I explain these to people that, when I have a video like this, I just let them know these are the moments where these things actually show you for sure that they are not anything ordinary. Um, there was a reason that they just pulled off, and now they're all back in line and moving to the right again. So that was special. I had a hard time finding that last night. I mean, I have so many videos, or yesterday. And once again, yes, facing the north, this is where all this seems to happen. And you don't see them without night vision. I think I'll probably let that go too long. We're almost to the mothership, okay? No, well, let that continue. I know you'll be able to edit and get it at the right length. I'm good at rambling. Oh, it did it again. Oh yeah, that's slow motion. Okay, I showed it in slow motion. Showed it again in slow motion. We'll get you to that other one though. And they take off. Okay. Here's modern. This is 2023. This shows that they still do those formations at times. I thought they would stop. They stopped though because those are so much fun to watch. Okay, and this is sped up a little bit, not much. You can tell it was pretty windy. But there's usually four of them. And then see, there's a dimmer one. there's always like a fifth. I always call it this supervisor. I don't know what it really is, but they don't always have one with it, but there's usually a fifth one there. Imagine how you feel though when you see this. Even now, I get excited, but it is normalized to me, and I get criticized for that. People say, "Why don't you get more excited?" I'm excited. I just thing is, I've been doing this for 11 years. I do get excited. It just may not show, you know. But to give you a good view of the north, though, where it's not quite dark. Okay, now you see these little guys that come over the mountains. This one here is coming over a mountain, and it's coming from the Mojave Desert. There's nothing out there. The only thing up there, and it would be more to the left, is Area 51. And I've actually never been to the gate at Area 51 because I think that would be a huge waste of time. I think that people that want to see UFOs, rather than paying good money to go out and sit in the gate at Area 51, that they just stay right here in Vegas and look around the mountains. Okay, this may be the one that you were hoping for, the mothership. Okay. Oh no, this is another one. I didn't tell you this one. This is really recent. This is from January, February, April of this year. Oh, watch this lightning. This is not a drone. The turquoise color. This thing just popped in, and I didn't get to see it, Jeff, because I wasn't out there. My camera was. And it's just giving you some screen grabs up close to what this thing looked like. It's probably at least 20 miles away. And then, once we get done with these screen grabs, you'll just be going normal speed, how it was actually going. I had a hard time finding this one last night too. I have so many videos. Yeah, this is definitely not a drone. And one of the people who have seen this, do you know who Rick Doty is?
The name's familiar.
He was one of the Mirage men. He was a debunker for the Air Force. Now he's a private citizen. And I showed him this, and he said, "Whoa, wow, that is crazy." These are just screen grabs. We'll get the motion. You'll see more of the motion. I'm very lucky because my videos overall, if I put all of them together and gave you a percentage of likes, it's over 95%. People know this stuff is real. Yeah, this is another of my favorites. So that's why I took my time going through all the videos. Make sure you had some good stuff to show you. Now here's it actually moving again. Comes in at the top of the screen. It's going to go straight down fast, and it'll black out at certain points. I don't know why that happens. You see a little kind of a little, that's an artifact from a street light. Okay, here it's on the move, on the move.
Wow, it did move fast.
Yeah, this is at normal speed too. I love this one. It's just so amazing. It's just all over the place. This is from two different visits. It came initially once, and then it returned. And starting out at the top again, I think I accidentally put this in again. I think it's that same one you saw go down, but there is different footage here too. I have 3 external hard drives. that I have to keep these videos on because they're so large. Yeah, this is just it not zoomed in. That's what it is. This is just how it would look if you were able to watch it. This is not a drone. I was on News Nation with Chris Como. They invited me on, and they had another guy on. And they tell you ahead of time, keep it short, keep your answers short, and move on. This guy took up the whole segment and never got to show my videos or do anything.
That's too bad.
Yeah. Well, and once again, I got to thank you because this is the kind of show I need to be doing. I've been on the Travel Channel, the Discovery Channel, Paranormal Caught on Camera twice, Rob Riggle, Global Investigator, uh, several documentaries, Lights in the Sky, UFOs over Vegas, Aliens Uncovered, The Lost Race, and then of course local news quite a few times. But I won't be doing that anymore because they treat the topic like they're presenting it to kindergartners, and they're too afraid to. They don't want to. I even had one news station say, "We won't show this to our viewers because they will panic." And I don't think so. I don't think people are going to panic.
I don't think so either.
Some of these things are birds, night birds. You see that right now.
Yeah, I was looking at that and trying to
Yeah,
decide if
that's
they are birds or insects
time of the
around a
year
light.
they're going to be there, feeding off all the insects. You got bats and night birds. We're almost to this, the one that you really want. This is very interesting. I kind of saved that one for last. Yeah, get past this. I don't know how I have left that in there. I thought I got it all out. Come on. Okay, here we go. Here we go. See that one with the ring around it? I think that's the one that's going to end up being the big one. And then up on the right-hand side, up in the sky, there's another big one right there. And this is the first time I've caught one of these things just sitting, where as many as four smaller ones end up coming around it. And at the meantime, this one up in the sky right now just kind of stops and watches. And here they come. Here comes the one that's going to get bigger right there on near the bushes. That one. Okay, now this is how it begins. And it's sped up so that you can see the movements. Because if you don't, they look like stars or planets. There's one right next to it, a little one. So it's a big one and then one teeny one. And see the nightbird too. Those little things are very annoying. Here come two more. There's one above it and one on the left side of it. And there will be one of them that's under. There it is, all four. 1, 2, 3, 4, and one big one. And comments on this video, everyone understood that was probably a mothership. And it's just so amazing, Jeff. Right now, there's the population of Las Vegas is 2,900,000. And I'm the only one that has this. Even though I'm urging people and telling them where to go, it just hasn't happened yet. Just Jaime Maussan that one time.
Well, to get a night vision camera, you do have to make quite a bit of an investment financially.
Yeah, it is. It is. And like I say, the first 3 years I lived in this house, even though I had that sighting, I never knew anything was going on in this part of the sky because what's beyond those mountains is just the Mojave Desert. And if you go a little bit more to the left, then you would run into Area 51. It's whatever's going on there, it's amazing. And it's not birds or drones, and then it just takes off, the big one. And whatever it is they did is pretty much done. And that ends all of my footage that I provided.
Steve, you did an amazing job. Thank you for sharing your videos with us. Why do you think that these are not visible without night vision? Like they just don't have lights on them or what?
It's an easy question to answer, okay? First of all, I didn't start doing this until 3 years after I moved in because I didn't see anything except that UFO that I had seen in Nova Scotia. And then the first one I saw here, that's when I began. But I had no idea, and I know where I live. I always believed in UFOs, but I just hadn't seen any. And those first two were, I just call them prize winners. They were so close up that there was left no doubt in your mind at all. The other part is that I made a commitment to be outside every night, whether I'm out there or not, the camera is, and it's catching this stuff. And the fact that there are 2.9 million people in this city, I'm the only one that has footage like this. And there, I really urge people to get a night vision if they can. And you're right, though, it costs a minimum of probably $800 or more to get one of these, and that's without getting tripods, SD cards, things like that. I've had 5 night vision devices. I have 3 right now. 2 of them I gave away to people who were locals who seemed really into it, but I've never seen anything from them. Um, and they were also cameras that were older, generation devices. But most of the videos we watched were actually captured with those older ones. But what I have now is just giving a whole different thing, and I'm hoping that people will somewhere along the line get in a position like I am, where I'm high enough up where I can see the city. I can see the mountains. And, they don't seem to come into the city very often. They seem to be more out there. And yeah, people can't see them, Jeff. That's it. And when they can look. Here's the real mind numbing detail. The same exact things can make it where they can be seen. They look the same, but I can see them with my eyes. And so it's crazy. It's a hard one to explain, but I just love doing it. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate having somebody like you have me on your amazing show. It's very important, and I have never had this kind of opportunity to explain this to anybody before,
Do you
even
think,
though I've been on big networks.
well, we're happy to have you, Steve. Do you think that these ships have ever tried to communicate with you personally in some way, whether it's through dreams or telepathy or anything else?
I do have UFO dreams, but I've had that my whole life. Um, when you seen there was a couple of times where that like the one that came over the tube, the Tic Tac one, the internally glowing Tic Tac that we looked at, and then that white orb that came back later and stopped by my neighbor's roof. I think that probably acknowledged me. I think the red sphere that turned off my camera, and then the daytime, what I call shapeshifter, that shut me down. It interacted with me just by shutting me down. Um, I have to admit that, first of all, I come from a family where my mom and dad, they were good people, but they were pretty crazy. They love gambling, dancing, going out and partying, and they loved Colorado too, where I was born. I was born in Alamosa, Colorado, and surprisingly, that's where the first documented cattle mutilation happened, the day after I turned 13. Um, but the thing is that I mean, we're always moving around a lot, and uh, I never became religious ever. I've If you ask me about gods and things like that, my feeling is that extraterrestrials could probably be so far advanced that to anybody they might seem to be godlike. So I've always considered them as I don't know, I don't think of them as aliens. I think of them just like I would if I was a fish in our ocean, as there's so many other things in that ocean but they're all connected. And I feel like that in this universe, as far away as anybody is, we are connected just like they are in that ocean. I think it would be an impossibility that in all of our oceans on this planet, that the most microscopic drop of water could be teeming with life, but that every other amount of water on the planet isn't capable of supporting life. I don't believe that. I believe that life will exist where it can, and that we're connected with the furthest reaches of the universe, and that you know what we call aliens have probably been visiting this planet even before humans were here. And I think that they do the same thing on a lot of other planets just like this.
Steve, after watching this podcast, people may want to reach out to you and ask you questions. Are you open to that?
Absolutely. And especially on my channel, if you guys, if people go to my channel, they will notice that there isn't any comments that I have not answered. I try to reply to everybody, and I know if that starts getting bigger and bigger and bigger, that will be impossible to deal with everybody. Because once again, my life as just a normal human being is way more important than my life as a UFO hunter or hobbyist. Um, but yeah, I would love to hear from people, and
Well, what's
you
the
know,
name of your channel?
it's called Anomalous Vegas, and they can find me real easy that way. Um, Remember the show called Everybody Loves Raymond?
Yeah.
They were the Barones. They Barones. If you type in Steve Barone or even Steve Barone UFO, you will find my channel immediately. But Anomalous Vegas that's the fastest way to get there. And like I say, I don't say anything that I don't know. I have things that I think. I think that these things could possibly be the tall whites. And if not, then Charles Hall was a clairvoyant who could see into the future because he described everything that I've been filming. And he did that in, you know, decades ago.
Steve, before we finish up, can you leave us with a last positive message?
Yeah, yeah. You asked me if I ever got messages or anything from them. And there's one message that I wish I would get that I haven't, but I feel this way is that human beings are amazing. I mean, we're incredible, but we also have kind of this thing where we waste a lot of valuable time on things that are just nonsense, like fighting over politics or where you're from or if you're gay or if you're that. I see everybody as having the potential to be amazing. And I'm lucky because in the Navy, I traveled all over the Mediterranean, the North Atlantic and the Caribbean. And as a civilian, my wife and I have traveled in like in the beginning of this year, we were in Thailand, Laos, and Vietnam for 3 weeks. I just wish people would get out and see the world if they can, and if not, just try to meet people from other cultures, other different ways of thinking. I'm not anti-religious, even though I'm not even remotely religious. I just say that everyone has their own things, and that would be my message. But I don't really have a message from ET. All I know is that they're real. I don't harbor any resentment towards our government because I am a veteran. And the other thing is that any country that has this kind of technology, they're not just going to plaster it over all the headlines. They're going to keep it and they're going to see what they can do with it. And that's how it is. I think it's a disclosure will happen, but it won't happen at the level that where you find out with what the really heavy duty, amazing things are. Things like Ben Rich talked about. He was saying before he died that our military has already been to the stars and back, and we're 50 years behind anything you can even comprehend. And I now know that that's good advice. It really is happening, and that's why when we're done and I have some free time, I'm going to start watching a lot of your interviews with people. I really appreciate this. And I one more time to my friend Sven, it's because of him that I was able to meet you. So thank you, Sven.
Thank you, Sven, and thank you, Steve, for your message and for being my guest.
Oh, I hope to be your guest again.
Well, let's make it happen.
Okay.
Thanks for watching the JeffMara podcast. I really appreciate you. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. And if you do, there are loyalty badges and other perks depending on your level of membership. All you need to do is click the join button underneath the video to find out more. Thank you for your support.